Eyes Radio. If you're joining us for the first time, thank you for stopping by. My name is Henrik Palmgren, and you can follow us on our website, redeyescreations.com. If you're a regular listener, you know that we talk a lot about human origins, ancient civilizations, and archaeology on this program. And I don't think there's any more controversial and upsetting work to the mainstream archaeological world than the work of Michael Cremo, who is the author of the monumental work Forbidden Archaeology, the Hidden History of the Human Race, that's written together with Richard L. Thompson. We did a program with Michael in 2007 on these subjects, and it's been a long time since we've gotten an update from him in regards to his research and work. He is currently working on a new book on the subject, and there's a new release, a compilation of articles called Forbidden Archaeologist, due out in November. His websites are mcremo.com, humandevolution.com, and forbiddenarchaeology.com. Michael is also the author of Human Devolution, a title on the theory that we are devolving and not evolving. And this, to me, is an idea that seems more and more likely considering the direction we are currently heading in. So let's begin to talk with Michael about this concept of human devolution.
Yeah, I use the word devolution in several senses. The main sense that I use it in the book, Human Devolution, a Vedic alternative to Darwin's theory, is that we don't evolve up from matter, as many scientists now believe. Rather, we devolve or come down from a level of pure consciousness. So that's one sense in which I use the word, devolution. We haven't come up from matter, but down from a level of pure consciousness or spirit, if you like that word. So that's one sense in which I use the word. And then another sense I use the word is in terms of reincarnation, because I believe that the conscious self on this level of reality inhabits a material vehicle, that we call a body, but only temporarily. We see that, say, for example, the human vehicle that we have, it lasts a certain number of years, and then it breaks down. At that point, the conscious self would either go back to the level of pure consciousness, where there is no need for any such vehicles, or if it hasn't gotten to that level yet, it will continue on in another vehicle, which may be a human vehicle, but if we haven't used the human vehicle properly, it could be another type of vehicle, an animal vehicle, for example. It's just like any vehicle. You require a license to operate it. For example, if you want to drive an automobile, you need an automobile license. If you want to fly an airplane, you need a pilot's license. If you want to be a ship's captain, you need a ship's captain's license. So to occupy a particular vehicle, one requires a particular license to operate that vehicle. So if we don't have the license to operate a human vehicle, then that means we'll be put in another type of vehicle. So that's another type of evolution or devolution. One can make progress in the cycle of reincarnation, going to from lower forms of vehicles to higher forms of vehicles, or from lower forms of bodies to higher forms of bodies, or one can go back in the other direction, devolution. And in that sense, one can lose the right to occupy a human body and be placed in another kind of body that's more suited to the types of desires that the conscious self has.
But who do you think is overseeing that process?
I think there's a source for all conscious beings that's carrying on this process. There's a cosmic government, you might say, that's responsible for these things. Just like in our human societies, we see that certain people are responsible for carrying out different processes. Same thing is going on in the whole cosmic hierarchy of beings of which we're a part. We're not alone in the universe. There are other beings in the universe. It's interesting that even mainstream scientists like Hawking that famous astrophysicist, the one who's in the wheelchair, little suffering from a disabling disease, Stephen Hawking. He's recently said, yes, there's extraterrestrial life. So I think we're not just alone in the universe. We're part of a whole cosmic society of beings, and in any society there's some system of government. It's so I think it works like that ultimately. So and then another sense I use the word devolution is in terms of the ongoing cycles of time. As you might know, and many of your listeners might know, a lot of my work is inspired by my studies in the ancient Sanskrit writings of India,
yes,
in which there's a cyclical concept of time. Time doesn't just go linearly; it goes in cycles, and this is a very common idea in many of the ancient wisdom traditions. Many people are talking about the Mayan calendar, for example, which has also this same concept of vast cycles of time. They believe, according to that calendar, the way many people read it, is that in the year 2012, it's going to be the end of one of the cycles and the beginning of another cycle. So the ancient Greeks and Romans and all types of people throughout history have had the idea of time going in vast cycles. So that is there in the ancient Sanskrit writings of India as well. And these cycles go in a certain sequence. They're called yugas, for example. That's one of the Sanskrit terms for the cycle of repeating cycles of ages. And there are basically four of them. They start out with a golden age in which everything on Earth is very environmentally perfect. People are able to live very simply and naturally without complex social structures and cities and things like that. But then as the cycles go on, things become progressively more materialistic and more elements such as conflict and competition and greed and exploitation and domination enter, until finally you get into the fourth age, which is called the Kali Yuga, in which these things exist in a very extreme form. And according to the Vedic cosmological calendar, we're now in the beginning of the Kali Yuga, and we can see with all the environmental disasters and natural disasters and human conflicts over material resources,